In the myth of Atheists, which is a Babylonian myth, 1,000 years plus before Moses, the seven gods who were the obstetricians or the gods that bring about this life took soil under the supervision of the mother god Ninto, and from this soil they created man. In Egypt, in the temple of Luxor, we have also the god Khnum on his turning table where he's making pottery, creating out of this soil, which makes the pottery, the body of the pharaoh, and breathing in it a breath of life to give him life. And that also is very similar as the frame of how ancient cultures try to understand the creation of mankind. Biblical scholars also say, as Costa Bendelli says in the book here, that man and woman, even though they had the name Adam and Eve, which means soil and life, were used as generic names of mankind and womanhood until the first time Eve was given as a name of a person was in chapter 3 verse 20, and the first time Adam was used as a name of a person was in chapter 4 verse 25. And if you read actually in the Good News Bible, in the bottom of the page there, it is written that the word Adam meant and should be read in the understanding of being mankind or soil and not a name of an individual. These are important points. We come after that to see what other myths tell us in the past. Some of the Syriac or Syrian myths talk about the god Ninti, the daughter of the Ninhur, which is another goddess there, and the Ninti carries the name, or her name means the woman of the rib, or the woman of life, the mistress of life. Again, these are bits from the old mythology long before Moses. In other stories, it is written that woman was taken out of the big toe of a man, or from the urine of a man in other stories as well. But all these ideas in old mythology were to try to say that somehow man and woman, we understand them as having the same nature, but one may be higher, one may be lower, but that's the old stories, in the idea that she's taken from the rib, from the heart, from the emotions. And he says, flesh of my flesh and bone of my bones. The principal point here, that the inspiration of God through the story written by Moses was to try to tell us they are co-equals, a helper comparable to him. The word in Arabic for the word comparable means at the same level of vision, that they can look at one another. So Adam recognizes that, and that's what the story wants to tell us about the idea of the rib. It is not that God was the first anaesthetist and surgeon as people talk about it in a joke. In fact, as I said, in the 4 hours in English and 7 hours in Arabic under the title God, Sex, Love and Marriage, and you'll find that on the YouTube or on the website www.copticorthodox-divinejustice.com, which is the website where I have all what I've written and recorded as videotapes. You will have a lot of discussion about the meaning of the love and sexual relationship, and how the creation of Adam and Eve and the helper comparable to him and the equality in nature dictates a lot of very basic understanding of how God wanted sex, something like, and they were naked and they were not embarrassed, but after sin they felt they were embarrassed and they felt they were naked, which tells us that the word naked here means that the human body and beauty of it is good and created by God for attraction. It is only sin that makes it look odd and people want to cover themselves. And the fig tree or leaves that they covered themselves with are just a symbol of trying to be so engaged with lots of worldly things to distract your mind away from the real vocation and mission and our real kingdom of God being our destination that we are going for. That is the idea of Adam. Adam, where are you? God knew where Adam was, of course, but the idea here is it's the voice of God in the mind of each one of us. Where are you from my love? Where are you from our relationship and friendship? Come back to me. I'm your God and your friend. The word Eden has to be understood in the Semitic languages. When you say Eden, it means a place full of green leaves and green trees, full of greenery. That's the word in Arabic as well. Jannatun Adn means a very nice, flourishing green garden. So it is not anything geographical like Aden or Yemen or a place where that garden was. The garden is again the symbol of the beauty and the joy that God has created within us, and we will understand how this is a potential rather than a historical realization. Another myth from the Sumeric stories, the story of Enki, Nanhur, Sag. There is also a paradise-like place or city called Delmon, in which there is no killing, no carnivorous animals. They all live together, very similar to the ideas that are described of the messianic life in Isaiah 11 from 6 to 9, where the cow and the bear would live together and their offspring would play together. The lion would eat only vegetarian stuff, and little kids would play with snakes without getting any harm. So again, these points of the perfection being there at the beginning and then sin and the suffering coming later has a great significance in the old cultural writings. The perfection is in old cultural literature. The deeper the craving and the longing for something, the more it is nostalgically taken as to be far, far in the past. So the more in the past, the deeper the meaning and the more important and precious it is for mankind. And that's how, as Costa Bendelli tells us, the idea of having perfection first, then the fall second, is just to say that perfection has the superiority in the depth of our craving and longing compared to the weakness of our matter of fact in this life as it is. That is why this was described far, far in the past first, and then sin came next. Also, the symbol of the serpent, the snake, or the dragon has always been in all cultures the sign of evil, robbing mankind of his good life. And it is also mentioned clearly here in the epic of Anoma Elish, how the serpent took the plant of life from man and made him mortal rather than immortal, very close to what the story of Genesis speak of. And also trees always had some magical powers about them in primitive religions and cultures, that they contain life and they contain death. And that's perhaps why also it was a tree that was used as a symbol. Not that they ate a fruit, or that when we say it was a symbol, therefore they didn't sin. No, we all eat from the tree of good and evil. We all sin together as humans, and we all crave for the tree of life, which is eternity, which we have been given through Christ. And that's why the church described the symbol of the tree of life and the Son of Man who will, or the seed of woman who will crush the serpent. That's Christ with what he did when he trampled death by death.